Hello friends, welcome back to our YouTube channel. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. I'll share our videos commanded by our experts, so let's begin.
If you like, please like, share and subscribe. So let's begin our today's topic. Let's begin.
Google recently retired its original AI chatbot, Bard, to make way for Gemini, a sweeping generative platform designed to serve as the company's most ambitious artificial intelligence project to date. But within days of users testing out its new image generation capabilities, excitement turned into widespread confusion. The visual outputs people were getting back from their prompts were entirely unexpected. Social media feeds quickly filled with historically impossible images. Users prompted the AI for 1940 soldiers and received racially diverse, historically inaccurate figures in German uniforms. Another prompt notoriously generated an image of a female pope. These errors exposed a severe structural logic failure operating deep inside one of the world's most powerful tech ecosystems. For years, engineers have faced intense criticism regarding systemic bias in generative AI. Early algorithms frequently defaulted to specific racial or gender demographics when asked to draw generic, everyday subjects. To counter this, developers across the big tech industry committed to building deliberate guardrails into their platforms, ensuring more inclusive representation and securing public trust. That commitment created a direct collision between two competing objectives: the goal of ensuring an AI never generates biased imagery of modern concepts, versus the strict requirement that it maintain objective historical accuracy. By attempting to program a solution to a complex societal problem, Google inadvertently wrote code that broke the algorithm's ability to recognize historical truth. The engineering failure driving this crisis is a phenomenon known as overcompensation, when an algorithm corrects a perceived error so aggressively that it introduces an entirely new, equally disruptive flaw. A generic prompt enters a logic block called a safety layer, where hidden diversity parameters are forcibly appended. This applies the exact same modifiers to a request for a historical 1940s soldier. The mandatory diversity parameters completely overrode the historical constraints. The architecture lacked the basic temporal awareness to understand that diversity requirements must adjust depending on the specific era or subject matter being generated. When developers code strict ethical rules into a system without providing context, the resulting algorithm becomes completely blind. It cannot differentiate between a prompt that requires inclusivity and one that demands factual inaccuracy. The mockery on social media quickly transformed into a severe corporate crisis as global backlash over the platform's reliability intensified. The severity of the situation required an immediate response. Google CEO Sundar Pichai issued an internal memo to all employees. Pichai formally declared that the AI's errors were completely unacceptable and had deeply offended users. Operationally, Google initiated a total pause, temporarily disabling Gemini's ability to generate images of people, while engineering teams rushed to build a structural fix. When a flagship tool becomes a direct liability to a company's reputation, human intervention must step in to supersede the algorithmic output. Correcting the platform required a total operational overhaul of how Google validates its products before they ever reach public release. The company instituted strict new internal review processes designed to stress test future AI outputs against objective, historical, and factual benchmarks. This push for reliability also forced broader infrastructure shifts. Users had complained that a single complex file upload could instantly exhaust their 5-hour rolling quotas. Google resolved these unpredictable limits by introducing quota protection and failed prompt forgiveness. To address mounting user anxieties over deepfakes and privacy, Google introduced likeness removal tools, letting individuals request the removal of unauthorized AI-generated versions of their physical appearance. They also expanded activity controls, allowing users to turn off data tracking and block human reviewers from examining their workflows. Rebuilding user trust requires a strict combination of engineering discipline and transparent administrative support. The Gemini launch now stands as a permanent cautionary tale for the entire artificial intelligence industry. It illustrates the ongoing heavy tension between preventing bias, grinding directly against the absolute requirement to maintain the integrity of the historical record. AI alignment cannot be achieved through brute force guardrails alone. Until algorithms can autonomously grasp the nuances of context, developers must rely on the rigorous, manual oversight provided by human-led validation. Following the major upgrades announced at Google I/O, the expectations for massive, scalable AI use were at an all-time high. But professional users trying to integrate the platform into their daily work immediately slammed into a hard stop, the quota wall. Google assigned users a rolling usage limit enforced over a 5-hour or weekly block. The problem was the instant burn rate. A single complex prompt or heavy file could instantly drain that limit to zero. The system offered no upfront cost estimates. Users could not forecast how much compute power a request would require before hitting execute. Playing this quota roulette caused user complaints to pile up fast, with professionals suddenly locked out of their workflows mid-session. If you cannot accurately predict the resource cost of a tool, you cannot build a serious professional workflow around it. Google responded by scrambling to stabilize the user experience. Their engineering teams rolled out a systemic patch to resolve the predictability issue. The first major fix implemented was quota protection. This graph shows how the new limit operates. Instead of allowing a query to consume an infinite amount of resources, the consumption now hits a hard horizontal ceiling. This caps the maximum amount of quota a single complex query can drain. The second pillar of the overhaul is failed prompt forgiveness. Under this new rule, if a request fails to execute or the AI generates an error, that attempt no longer counts against the user's rolling usage limits. By capping absolute losses and forgiving system errors, Google shifted the platform from a high-risk penalty box into a safe space for complex experimentation. Fixing the back-end limits addressed the immediate lockouts, but users still needed visibility over their own data consumption. To provide that visibility, Google rolled out a transparent breakdown. This interface gives users detailed, clear usage logs. With these logs, professional teams can look closely at their query history and accurately budget their workflows over the course of a day. The fourth pillar targets workflow continuity, persistent preferences. Gemini now remembers the specific model you select across active sessions. This removes the friction of resetting parameters and wasting initial quota just to prepare a workspace. Data transparency and frictionless continuity are absolute prerequisites for scaling any software tool across enterprise teams. Google's focus on quota stability runs parallel to an effort to address a trust deficit regarding Gemini's data handling and accuracy. The platform had already taken a massive reputational hit when its image generator overcompensated for diversity, generating historically inaccurate figures. Google addressed these errors through corporate accountability. CEO Sundar Pichai formally declared the generation errors completely unacceptable. Google temporarily paused human image generation and instituted strict internal structural changes to review product validation before any future public releases. They also introduced privacy safeguards to combat the unauthorized generation of deepfakes, launching reporting mechanisms called likeness removal tools. Alongside these tools, Google provided explicit warning documentation and new activity controls, allowing users to shut off their Gemini apps activity to prevent human reviewers from examining their data. By layering these privacy and bias fixes over the new quota rules, Google is moving the platform from an unpredictable black box into a reliable, secure tool. For an AI platform to survive as a serious enterprise tool, raw computational power is worthless without predictability, transparency, and strict user control.